Well, hello there. My name is Mark Marston. I love helping trainers, presenters, workshop facilitators really take their results to the next level. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how to receive negative feedback well, how to receive it well, but also how to boil it down and discern value when it's actually presented to you. Because what we need to realize is that many times, you can receive negative feedback, but it's often presented in a way that's very unhelpful, or is presented in a way that can often trigger us and make us push back on that feedback. Now, I've been guilty of that myself, and I'm sure many of you watching these videos have had a moment where somebody has said something on a feedback form, or even, gosh forbid, face to face to you about something that you've done in a workshop, right? Now, all fine. There's always going to be feedback, whether it's positive, lukewarm, or negative, that we experience. That's part of the game as being a trainer, a coach, a facilitator, a mentor. We are putting ourselves on the line and we are putting ourselves open to receiving feedback there. And feedback, make it your competitive advantage, but don't make it something that pulls you down for the wrong reasons, right? In other videos, I've talked about the importance of self reflection, and I've talked about the ability to strategically grow yourself over a longer period of time as a trainer and presenter. But the thing is, folks, you are going to receive negative feedback. Guaranteed it's going to happen, right? And being able to receive it well and graciously is a skill. And also, there's a number of distinctions I want to give you so that you can actually really get value from it. Now, unfortunately, though, when people give it to you, typically they don't actually give it to you in a helpful manner, right? And my belief is this: people will default to the thing that upset them, but they won't be gracious enough to give a suggestion. Here's what I mean by that. What will often happen is on the feedback form, or even face to face, hopefully not, on the feedback form, it'll say, I didn't like XYZ, or I didn't like the music, or I didn't like the catering, or I didn't like when the trainer said X, or I didn't like how quickly the trainer did X, or I didn't feel I had enough time to do blah, right? Or I didn't like the slide, right? And it will be I didn't like all right, or I didn't experience or I didn't enjoy X, right? And or it can even be the trainer was to this or the trainer was to that. Now, it's going to be any form of that. But what we often find is that there is a critical piece from feedback, or the negative, there's a critical piece from feedback that actually makes it negative, right? Or makes it unhelpful. What's that piece? Well, it's a suggestion. It's a suggestion, right? Now, a suggestion on how the person could actually improve their performance, right? And the human mind is lazy and it doesn't actually go to that place, right? But if I walk up to you on the street and say, I don't like your shoes, internally you'll be like, well, okay, thanks, well, great, and what do you expect me to do about that? Or I in your workshop I write down, I didn't like your introduction, and the trainer's like, okay, great, so thanks for that. Ultimately, great feedback actually has a critical component, which is a suggestion on how the thing could be improved or enhanced. And as a human or as a learner, what will often be missed out is that suggestion. Great feedback instead, or helpful feedback instead, would be, yep, when we did XYZ activity, I felt a little bit rushed, and it would have been even better if the trainer had given us an extra 5 or 10 minutes to do the task. That, folks, would be great, helpful feedback. But unfortunately, when we get the feedback form, it's often, I didn't like X, or the trainer did this, or there was too much of this, or too much of that. It's like when you receive it as a receiver, as a presenter, you're like, okay, great, well, thanks. What am I meant to do with that feedback, right? So we are often put in a position where we need to diagnose or try and interpret what that feedback actually means and how we actually learn and grow from it there, right? So here's a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, was it a one-off, or was it from someone that you would actually take advice from? Now, it's a little bit of a weird statement there, but what one of my mentors once said is you should only ever take advice or criticism from somebody that's actually done what you do and does it really, really, really well, right? Why would you take advice or criticism from somebody that's never done it before and potentially has no concept or context to give that feedback, right? So, just something to think about, is the person that's giving the feedback somebody that you would think of as worthy to give you that feedback, right? So keep that in mind. Who's giving it to you, and would you trade places with that person? Right, something to think about that. Next thing, was it somebody's individual needs, and was it against a trend? What we mean by that is, was it just a one-off person, or is it a trend? Now, this is really, really important that you start to look at trends, not just people. So if you notice in your delivery or your workshop, multiple people are giving you similar feedback, well, that's definitely something that you want to listen to, right? And definitely something you want to take on board, right? If more than one person is saying it, definitely there's some value in that. You should definitely be thinking about that. Next one, be willing to experiment and be playful. All right. So if somebody said, I didn't like you the way that you did X, next time try doing this, or it'd be great if you did X, take that on board. Play with the idea. Write it down on a sticky note and make sure in your next workshop, play with the idea and see what happens. Maybe that person or those couple of people that actually said that thing had some great ideas there, or had something that you could take notice of and you could actually implement. Play with the idea, see what happens, and then decide for yourself, was there value in that feedback then? All right. So actually get committed to being coachable, being willing to take on feedback. And as you do that, you're going to find that your success as a trainer, presenter, coach, facilitator, whatever you want to call yourself, does grow because you are the kind of individual that takes on feedback, right? And unfortunately, many people are not willing to take it on. And as a result, they really stunt their growth, right? So you need to be able to go, all right, cool. If it's a trend, I'm going to listen to it. And I'm going to see potentially, is it something that's continually coming up in the way that I deliver or the way that you deliver? And go, all right, cool. Is there some value to it? If there is, then I'm going to play with it, and I'm going to at least take on the ideas and play with them in my next workshop and start to notice what happens. How do people react differently, right? So if they say you talk too long, you talk too quickly, maybe there was some feedback that says you talk too quickly. It would be good if you pause more. All right, cool. Write that down. Pause more and actually implement more regular pausing. Not a huge thing to change, but it could be a very significant thing there, right? So as you do this, guess what, folks? You are strategically growing as an individual. But when you constantly get, trends in your feedback, you go, it's all them, it's all them, it's all them. They're the bad ones, they're the bad ones, they're the bad ones. I'm not listening to anyone. I am perfect. Well, then you may be stunting your growth there, right? So be the person that's willing to take on the feedback. Now, hypothetically, though, if you get someone that puts negative feedback, do ask yourself, what energy did that person bring into the room, and how open were they to actually taking on your workshop content? Because what you don't want to do is have one person that really puts heavy negative feedback down, and then you go, you're the worst trainer on the planet, you're a really bad person, you're a terrible performer, you're a terrible something. When, let's step back for a second, folks, maybe that person was just having a really bad day. Maybe that person actually was forced to be in the workshop and didn't really have any interest in being there in the first place. All right. So you've got to be able to distinguish and discern what is the real value in the message that they're giving, who is giving it, and what energy are they bringing when they actually give that feedback, that negative feedback, so to speak, right? So something to think about, would you take advice from the person? Next, individual versus trends and really look at the trends and being open to those trends. And then third of all, be willing to play with it. Be willing to at least take it on board, see what happens when you adjust. And if nothing changes, then go back to what you were originally doing and just be happy with that, right? So on that note, folks, hope you got some value from the video, all about how to receive negative feedback from your participants. And as always, like, comment, share. Let's get this message out there and let's really transform the training community in Australia and beyond. Really raise the standards and let's help you guys, whoever you are, if you're in a position to influence others from stage, help you get even better results as you develop as a trainer or presenter. Whether you've been doing this for a long time or a short time, really, really important thing to get hold of, how to receive the old negative feedback. Thanks for watching, team. We'll see you on the next one.